Hi, my name is JR Tallman. In this NetSuite tutorial, I'm going to be taking you through how to configure NetSuite's Transaction Line Distribution SuiteApp. Now, this Distribution SuiteApp will allow you to distribute any of your transaction lines to various departments, classes, locations, custom segments, and also additional subsidiaries based on a template that we define. The first thing we're going to do to use this feature in NetSuite, which is a free bundle, is to install the SuiteApp. So you can simply go to Suite Apps here. And once on the Suite Apps page, once this loads, we'll go ahead and search for the Transaction Line Distribution. All right, once we see this, you can go ahead and click on this. In the top right-hand corner, you can go ahead and click on the Install button. Again, this is a free Suite app that NetSuite offers. I have installed it in this particular development account, so that is why it says installed. Now, once this is installed in NetSuite, there is a couple of things to note as prerequisites. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Setup, Company, and Enable Features. And underneath the CRM subtab, I'm going to ensure that the Online Forms checkbox is checked. This will be necessary to deploy one of our scripts, which you'll see in just a moment. In addition, if we are distributing any of the lines to different subsidiaries, we do want to make sure that we have intercompany customers and vendors set up in NetSuite, as well as the intercompany customers must be enabled. So that is a prerequisite to using the intercompany distribution. In this example, in this configuration, I'm just going to do an intracompany one between the same subsidiary to different departments and or classes. You can do it also to custom segments, but if you are using the intercompany distribution setup, which you'll see in just a moment, you do need to enable the multi-subsidiary customers. The next thing is, if you are using this with additional roles, you do want to go ahead and customize those roles to add various permissions. Go ahead and search Transaction Line Distribution in Help or Suite Answers to see the exact permissions and the levels necessary for each of these roles. In this account that I'm going through, I'm just simply using the administrator role, so this will work out. But if you are using this for other users, you are going to want to make sure to update their roles and permissions. All right, so once we've installed the Suite app as well as enabled the online forms here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Setup, Accounting, and we're going to go all the way to the bottom, and we're going to see this Transaction Distribution Preferences. So I'm going to go ahead and click that Preferences. And once on this page, this functionality and feature allows us to distribute the individual lines to a variety of types of transactions in NetSuite, not just vendor bills and bill credits. So if we go and edit this, we can actually apply this configuration to a variety of different transaction types that you can see on the screen. So you're going to want to go and come here and check or uncheck the appropriate transactions that this should apply for your environment, and simply go ahead and click on Save. In my instance, I'm just going to use this for vendor bills and bill credits as we go through an example. Now, once you save this, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up a template that is going to be our template for our distribution percentages or amounts. To do this, we can go to List, Accounting, and Transaction Distribution Templates down below here. You are able to do what we're about to do with a CSV. If you have a lot of lines or a lot of templates, you can import that via CSV. But in this example, I'm just going to go ahead and simply click on Templates here, and this will show us all the different default templates that I've set up in NetSuite. So I don't have any here, so I'm going to simply click on New Distribution Template. And I'm going to give this a template name. Now in this case, I'm just simply going to call this Department Distribution. Once you've set the name here, you're going to go ahead and give this a source subsidiary. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select the US entity. And then the next field that is required is the rate type. Now we can either distribute this based on a percentage, which is the most common that I see, or an amount. Now both of these are able to be updated at the time of the transaction. This is just the template. But I'm going to go ahead and select the percentage, which will put percentages down below, which you'll see in just a moment, and then those would need to equal 100%. So I'm going to keep this as percentages, but if you did do amounts, you would just put the amount instead of the percentage. The distribution type here is what I mentioned earlier. So we can do intercompany between different subsidiaries, and that will create an advanced intercompany transaction. However, just keep in mind that you do have to have that multi-subsidiary customer enabled, as well as the intercompany customers and vendors set up for each of the subsidiaries. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and simply select intercompany. And then the right-hand side is what I'm going to be using as my source account when the journal entry is automatically created in NetSuite. So in this environment, I'm going to go ahead and use the source account. I want the same source accounts to be distributed. I'm going to use the same custom segments. I don't have any custom segments, but you can distribute based on custom segments, which is great. I'm also going to use the same source class, In my example, I'm going to be distributing on department, so I'm going to uncheck this, and then I'll use the source location as well. And what that will do is down below here, each of those is going to be then grayed out based on what I selected above. Let's go ahead and start this. I'm going to put, let's say, 25% as my distribution percentage for my finance department. I'm going to simply add this line. I'm going to say the next 25% should go to my marketing department. And then lastly, I'm going to say my last 50% should go to my sales department when I use this template. But again, you can use any combination of this. If I wanted to distribute classes as well, I would just simply uncheck this, and then I could select my classes down below here. Once you've set up this template, you can go ahead and click on Save here. And now that this is saved, what we're going to do next is we're going to create a vendor bill in NetSuite. But before we do that, there is one script deployment that we want to update before we go to entering a vendor bill. What I've noticed in NetSuite is if we do not update the script deployment, we are going to get an error before we go to enter a vendor bill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Customization, Scripting, and Script Deployments. Once we're on this page, what we're going to do is we're going to find the vendor bill form custom deployment. So if we go down below here, you can see this one right here, custom deploy _ VID, the vendor bill form. We're going to go to this deployment. So this is the one that we want to go to. So I'm going to click on view here, and then I'm going to simply make sure this has the online form user in that external roles set. Now I've already done this, but if this does not have online form user set in this script deployment, you're most likely going to get an error on any transactions that has this deployed for this script deployment. Once all that pre-configuration work is done, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and enter a bill underneath transactions, payables, and enter bills. Now right away, once we're on the screen, what we're going to notice, we're going to notice some new fields here. So we have this distribution related transaction, which isn't going to be applicable actually for this transaction. It will be on the journal entry that shows the related bill to this. But what we're going to be focusing on are these four fields: the distribution default template that we just set up, the distribution type, which is whether it's intercompany or intracompany, the distribution rate, whether it's an amount or percent, and then whether we want to disable the line distribution rule, which is set on each of these lines. To show you how this looks, I'm going to go ahead and select a vendor here. I'm just going to go ahead and select a Blue Horizon Publishing LLC. And from the top here, I'm going to go ahead and select my template that we just set up. Now, once I set that template here, you can see that these two fields that we just covered are inline text. So I can't change the distribution type or the weight here, whether it be a weight or percent. So just keep that in mind once we select the template. The next field here is disable line distribution rule. So if I go ahead and select this, what that will do is it gives me a pop-up that basically says that the lines are going to be using this default from the header. I typically just keep this unchecked, and what you'll see down below here is that rule will automatically be selected down below here, and I can exclude certain lines if I want to. So to show you how that looks, let me go ahead and enter an expense account. Once that expense account is entered, I'll go ahead and enter an amount and a department. It's not required here, but you can see that line distribution template has been selected here. But if I want this particular line to be excluded from my distribution, I can just go ahead and simply click on that checkbox and this will be excluded. Then what I can do is on that next line, let's say I want this line to be included in my distribution. It will be included within that percentage that I set up, but this first line will not be included. In addition, if you are on a line, there is going to be this new button that says Enter Quick Distribution. So if you click this button right here, this Enter Quick Distribution, it's going to pop up a new window that basically allows you to edit this distribution template that we set up previously to be different percentages if we want, or add in different combinations of our departments, classes, locations, whatever it may be based on the distribution information above. Right? So if I want to go ahead and change this to say 60%, I can do so and click OK, and that will update. Now, if I try to apply this above 100% and try to save, what's going to happen is NetSuite's going to give me an error and basically say, all my lines on here are above 100%, so I need to simply reduce one of these to be equal to 100% in total. And then I can just simply click on save here. I do recommend using that quick distribution if you do need to edit and adjust any of the percentages or weights prior to being approved and the journal entry getting created. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and simply click on save here. And once the bill has been saved, you're also going to see this new distribution list subtab get created here. So if I click on this subtab, you can see now this has the distribution percentages that I updated previously from that template. These can be updated anytime to being approved. You can come in here and edit this distribution list, but you can't slice and dice this if you want to add additional rows and add, let's say, a different class department combination. You would want to go ahead and do that based on that pop-up before. Now, once this has been saved and approved, the next thing that's going to happen is a journal entry should get created and be associated with this to distribute that based on the percentages and the departments that I have selected. So there is a NetSuite script that we need to go to make sure that this is deployed and running at your frequency every 15, 30 minutes, hour, whatever you would like it to do. Basically, it's going to evaluate anything that has been approved, and it has a distribution template here that has been set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to customization, scripting, and scripts here. I'm going to change this type once we're on the scripts here to be map reduce. Change the bundle to be blank here. And then I should find the one that says TDMR journal entry form. This is the one that actually looks and creates the journal entry. So if I go and view this, I can go to the deployments sublist down below here and click on any of these ones that are not scheduled to run it on demand. I do have one that is already scheduled, but I'm going to go ahead and click on one that is not scheduled. Simply click on edit here, use the drop down and click on save and execute. Now this will execute, and once this executes, this should go ahead and change from pending to processing to complete. So as long as you have one of these deployments scheduled to run every 15, 30 minutes, it will evaluate it. And once this is complete, we will go ahead and go back to our vendor bill. So now you can see it is complete. I'm going to simply go back to our vendor bill. Now on the vendor bill, you can see this distribution related journal now has a hot link to a journal. This was automatically created by that script. So if we go to this journal 31, you can see the memo says created by Transaction Line Distribution, and this simply took my rent in this example for the second line. Remember, we didn't distribute the first line and distributed based on those percentages as appropriate. And then in addition, it has this distribution related transaction up here, so I can go between each of the transactions as necessary. So that's how easy it is to set up the SuiteApp itself using an intra-company distribution type. If you are going to be using the intra-company, very similar, you'd still set up a template, but instead you would just want to make sure those intercompany customers and vendors are set up. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hope to see you on the next video. Thank you.